go ahead and fire it up. All right, hey, what's up, YouTube? Welcome to Play It Painted Live. Hope you guys are having a good Sunday evening. So here we go with another one of these, and tonight we're going to be painting some Marvel Crisis Protocol, and we're going to be working on some skin tonight because we got Mr. Iron Fist here. He's gonna probably what we spend the most of our time on, and then we're probably gonna spend a little time on Quicksilver, and then as sort of my backup model, we've got Bullseye waiting in the wings there. No real use for Bullseye, but go ahead. Let me go ahead and refresh here. Hey, what's up, Jason? I am gonna, just for the hell of it, turn this on down here. Okay, and we'll see. It's fine. We'll just be here. So yeah, this is what we're gonna be painting tonight, and then more specimens. Hey, what's up, Nelson? But yeah, we're gonna talk a little bit about my tournament experience playing some MCP in the tournament this past weekend. So that was a thing, and I played in it. But yeah, so for right now, I don't think there's any eyes to do on Mr. Iron Fist right now, but there is on Quicksilver, and then there's also eyes on Luke Cage here, who I need to color block his skin before I do the eyes. So let's color block Luke Cage's skin here. And I do color block with contrast paints. That's what I did here. So you color block. The new method for me is apply this gloss after priming, and then I apply the color block using contrast paints, because it just helps you see everything. And frankly, sometimes if it looks good enough, it helps reduce the amount of work you need to do. So we're gonna add. So Luke Cage here is coming in, right? And the interesting thing with Luke Cage is he's got a bright yellow shirt on, so we probably don't want to spill over too much with the contrast paint, because contrast paint is super unforgiving for when you do stuff like that. So I want to try to just push this right up to the edge there, right? And then if I do this carefully enough, I won't have to worry about it so much later. Okay, there we go. So you can see that actually worked pretty well on Mr. Luke Cage. Ooh, except for right there and right there. All right, let me try to correct that a little bit. Okay, so I can already tell that this model, the Wildwood's not going to settle quite where I want it to, so I'm just going to have to, we're going to have to color block and then paint in by hand, or do traditional layer painting to get this where I want it. But let's go ahead and keep on with the color blocking. So I wasn't supposed to be working on 4 models right now, but I mean, it's simple enough to go ahead and just do this right now. I was actually going to paint him and Captain Sam at the same time, but that's okay. We could work in. Luke Cage is such an easy design, whereas the Captain America designs are very complicated. They're more intricate because there's all that detailing you want to get. Hey, what's up, Andrew? So I guess it's just as easy to get Luke Cage kind of blocked I'm sorry, yeah, get Luke Cage blocked, and then we can tackle him either tonight if there's time, or just kind of let him do what he needs to do. Right now, he's just going to chill, and we're going to really work on Iron Fist. But first, let's paint in some eyes. So we got to paint in some eyes on Quicksilver and Bullseye and that kind of stuff. And I'm going to move this up a little bit so we can see what's going on. All right. So yeah, playing a tournament this weekend. It was interesting for me because I do not play in tournaments. It's just been a very, 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 very long time since I played in a tournament that I did not host myself. But you know, for LVO, I am planning on playing in a couple of tournaments there that I'm not hosting. So might as well get in some experience right now. And then also for MCP, because I'm brand new to MCP, I figured this is a good way to learn, right? Just throw yourself in the middle of the madness and then see what you'll learn. I do think that's, if you're an experienced miniature gamer, I do think that's actually a pretty good way to go when you're learning a new system, because you will learn the basics a lot more quickly than your typical non-gamer or your non-miniature gamer. You know, a lot of the concepts are the same, but also you kind of have the attitude of, well, if I'm learning, I'm gonna lose, and I'm gonna learn more from losing than I am from winning. So let's go ahead and do that. And throwing me in a full situation where I have to use the full rules, where I have to figure out what my roster is going to be, where I have to figure out how to make decisions in a timely manner. I think that's just kind of better for me. I just learn. I guess I just kind of learn better under that little bit of stress that a tournament offers. So there's that. All right. I forgot to do Quicksilver's hands there. We'll do that in a second. So let me know, in the meantime, let me know what you're painting or what you should be painting. But you know, we're just painting up some MCP, man. Mr. Bullseye. I didn't even realize Bullseye's ears can be seen through his mask, and that's pretty damn funny to me. I'm gonna get a little black here in his mouth to make his teeth more prominent when we paint that in. And then Iron Fist here actually has black. It's kind of like Spider-Man. You just paint the design. Right? He just has a Who doesn't love this cool classic Iron Fist design? I think it's great. Iron Fist has always been one of my favorite characters in Marvel. And his miniature is pretty damn cool. The one issue is gluing those little side flames on that help stable. I appreciate that they help stabilize the dragon. So I love the intent there, but trying to figure out how they insert into the main dragon fire thing was a bit of a pain. But as long as he's stable now, that's all that matters. So I think we're okay. And this side of the design is not very pronounced. It's not that well sculpted in. So I'm gonna flub it a little bit and do my best. Okay, cool. In fact, let's go ahead and, since we're here, we might as well at least do the tattoo. All right. Which is kind of tedious work, but luckily Iron Fist, once you get past that, the rest of this is basically just getting the skin right, and then the lighting on the dragon, you want to get that right too. But yeah, tournament. So I went in after, with the intent of getting in 3 games, learning MCP, and possibly, just maybe, I could meet some folks that would be cool enough to kind of recruit into our inner circle of gamers. That possibly it's somebody that we could have come meet us for MCP on Sunday, and then do what we do, get them hooked on a bunch of other games. Show somebody that there is life after GW, that you don't, you can, that all those cool games you see on the shelf, that there are people that play them, and generally those people are us. So that was kind of one of the side goals of of me going to the tournament and attending the tournament. But this time around didn't really connect to people. I mean, I met a lot of cool people. I did. So I'm not gonna say that I didn't meet cool people, but what I am gonna say is that I didn't meet people that sort of meet the energy that would meet the energy of our group. I screwed up already, but we could fix that. See that? I screwed up on the little curly Q there on the tail. Oh, you can barely see, but we'll go ahead and fix that in a bit. All right, let's get some white. Oh, before we do that, we gotta block the fists of Mr. Quicksilver. No, oh yeah, no, he's wearing gloves, but does he wear fingerless gloves? I forget. With Bullseye. I don't know. At least, I feel a little dumb for having built and primed Bullseye. He came with Daredevil, and he's just sort of sitting around here. Like most of my other MCP core set models, they're just sitting around waiting to be painted, but I really have the pieces that I want to run for MCP. I already have my Spider Boys and my Spider Bad Boys. So I'm going to paint them with the intent maybe making Jose play with us. All right. Life after GW sounds like a reality. We should make one. They have GW sponsor us. No, GW would just sue us. That's what they do. If you publish anything, GW is on the verge of copywriting the air outside of their building. Okay? So they would never, ever, ever want anyone to make money off of anything they think they deserve to make money off of. And for those of you who follow GW and don't understand that, well, you're lost. I'm sorry. Like, get a clue. They tried to copyright the term Space Marine. Come on. They don't want people on YouTube producing independent content. Do you guys not see? I mean, I get it. You're a GW customer, so you're not good at seeing patterns of abuse. You're actually, maybe you are, and you're attracted to that sort of thing. But yeah, that, like, how is that a shock to anybody? Anyways, but yeah, so that was my rationale behind going to the tournament. I wanted to learn the game and possibly meet folks and, you know, do what I needed to do. Um, and overall, it was okay. Yeah, I forgot though. I forgot so many things about gaming in public, both good and bad. It all kind of came back on Saturday when I was gaming. I was like, oh yeah, I remember. There are people like this and people like this, and this is why you don't do it. This is why you missed it. You know? Oh, I forgot to. Yeah. Hold on. We forgot the important guy here. Mr. Iron Fist. He's the important guy. The problem is with the sunken eye like this. It can be kind of difficult to make it prominent without screwing it up. Yeah, I guess Bullseye in my collection, because I don't really have any plans of going into Criminal Syndicate, although I will accidentally, because I need Kingpin to finish Spider Foes. My plan with him is just to chill and kind of be a spot filler in a roster if I needed one. I really need the white eye to pop. So I'm going to have to do this a couple of times. I'm also going to have to fix that eye. It's way too big. It's way bigger than the eye across the street there. Just do that. Okay, so anyways. So I spent the week leading up to it, painting a bunch of models, and then getting in about two and a half learning games of MCP, right? And I was doing okay in those games. I just kind of, jump in. You learn it pretty quick, and you just jump in, and it's really more about getting that experience, that muscle memory of, okay, here's why you move, here are the nuances in the rules that are different from this game to other games, like, right, getting all that stuff down. So spent the week leading up doing that, getting terrain painted, and then finally Saturday was the tournament. And so I didn't know what to expect from my first game, because your first game is the most random game. You never know who you're going to get paired up with. My hope was that I would get paired up with the Power Gamer on the first game. Right? And maybe this is a little overconfidence on my part, but I figure in any tournament, even a tournament where I only have a couple games experience, I figure I'm probably good to win a game, right? I'll probably win one game. I will definitely lose a game. And so the other game that I'm going to have, probably going to be a toss-up. Look at that award-winning smile there from Bullseye. right? So the third game can be a toss-up. You don't know how that's going to be. So no expectations. And if I were to kind of assign the 3 games I played, no, you can't go in and out. You pick a side. There you go. The first game that I played was actually the third game. I'll call it the toss-up. Second game was the game I expected to win. Third game was the game I expected to lose. So, not too bad, right? So, I already talked about my 10 in the last stream, so we know who's in my 10, although I did make some changes. I changed a lot of the team tactics cards, and the most notable thing was I dropped Lizard in favor of Daredevil, because I painted a yellow Daredevil the night before, and I just thought it would be cool to put Daredevil in that list. You know, I really like the yellow Daredevil that I put down. And he seemed like he's a fun, like 4-point guy for Web Warriors. So, right. And my first game was actually technically the best game I played that day. Okay, so again, Web Warriors with some spider foes up against Asgard. Okay, so the scenarios we got were the hammers. He picked hammers for his scenario. I won priority, and I picked web portals. And those two things sit on the same map. So you have a portal and a hammer sitting on 4 different points of the table. And so I went in with my standard 18 threat spider crew, which includes Amazing Spider-Man, Black Cat, Spider-Gwen, Miles Morales, and Daredevil, right? So that was my 5. And he went in with Thor, Angela, Valkyrie, Toad, and Domino. So very strong Asgard list, and he has the non-affiliate toolkit in there. Toad for objective grabbing, and Domino just to give him some ranged, a solid ranged threat. So it was a good list, and he was a sharp player. And what it came down to was, I was able to grab the spider portals. On the first turn, I grabbed 3 spider portals and 1 hammer, and he grabbed one spider portal and 3 hammers, right? So tie game. It was tie game for like the first 2 turns, where nothing really changed there. We just started to kind of lay into each other, trying to beat up one versus the other. And of note, he had Thor and I forget her name now. It's off. I think Angela. Thor and Angela coming in against Amazing Spider-Man, and luckily, Amazing Spider-Man was able to tank Thor and Angela, and I think they both had hammers, and they were just swinging and swinging and swinging at Spidey, and he was able to tank it for the most part, to the point where he was able to tank long enough for me to win eventually by getting support in for Peter. And on the other side, I had Daredevil going in kind of off on a side by himself against Toad and Valkyrie. And Daredevil should have also probably got wrecked on that side, but I'll admit I got pretty lucky on the defense rolls and was able to And he didn't roll two. Valkyrie had two really just choke activations where she really wasn't able to put out the kind of damage you would expect from Valkyrie, right? And she just could not get anything meaningful on Daredevil. Actually, all they really did was power him up so that he could do his area attack, which is pretty dope. He got his area attack off, and then when I did all webbed up, when I did all webbed up on Thor, Domino, and Angela, he was able to help take advantage of that too. So that was super strong. I had ended up dazing like 3 of his characters in one turn on that all webbed up turn. That felt like, like Go Ball or War Machine when you do your legendary play or your or your feat, right? It was like feat turn when you're playing all webbed up and you manage to land that crazy thing. So that was super dope, right? And that turned the tide of that game. I should back up a second and say there was a point, though, where Thor and Angela had pushed Peter significantly back, and they got him down to 1 health on his healthy side. And I had a whole bunch of power on Gwen because Gwen had been getting punched and whatnot. So what Gwen did was Gwen was able to lifesaver Peter out of range from Angela's attack. Then on her activate, so she lifesavered him out, and she had enough energy to patch him back up to full, and then just drop him right back in there against Thor and Angela, and that kind of crushed my opponent's morale. Like, he was like, "Oh my gosh, that was crazy." The way in which all the timing and everything worked in that game really went in my favor. Hey, what's up, Jose? It was all really in my favor, and so once I was able to flip that, then Peter comes in all webbed up, wrecks. I think he KOs Angela and almost KOs Thor, and then both Miles came in and KO'd Domino, and then Daredevil came in and KO'd Thor. And that was basically game after that, right? Because he wasn't able, at that point he lost 2 hammers, and he just wasn't able to keep up. He wasn't able to keep up on the scoring side. So that was a fantastic game, though. Like, that game right there showed me how fun, like a tense thematic game of MCP can be, right? Because he had Toad in there and Domino, but those are great support pieces. But overall, it was a very thematic team. He played Asgard like Asgard, and we both had a lot of fun. Like, we had good witty banter. That's very important to me, to have witty banter as a Spider-Man player, and we were, he was experienced. But his dice weren't showing up, and my timing was just, and he mentioned it after the game. He was like, your timing on, like, knowing when to do stuff was impeccable, and that's what won you the game. So kudos to him. I won it was very close, 16-14, won that game. And I didn't expect to win that game. It was one of those things where your first game is really a toss-up. You really shouldn't have an opinion of trying to win that first game unless you're a veteran player, you're an experienced player, and you're there to crack skulls, right? You're there to get them W's. But I wasn't. I was there to get the XP, right? So winning the first game was just sort of a bonus and a reward for playing well. And I do feel like I played that game well. Like I'm going to go out on a limb and say that was the best game of MCP I'd played. In terms of how well I was able to make decisions and handle timing and that sort of thing. So that was cool. And then second game. Well, let me back up a sec. So we finished really early too. Like we finished about 30 minutes before the round was up, because we were moving very quickly. And he had a game clock, and he was worried because this was announced as a sort of casual tournament, but he was worried that if he broke out the clock, that would be upsetting to me. I told him, hey, I come for Guild Ball. I prefer to play tournaments that way because I don't want to slow game my opponent. And he's like, yeah, I feel the same way. That's why I do it. I don't want you to feel, because he basically told me up front. He's like, look, I like to stop and do analysis, and sometimes if you don't see how much time is going away, I've been accused of slow gaming. I'm like, okay, yeah, don't even sweat it, dude. Just we both like clock. Let's play clock. So we played clock. And like I said, we had 30 minutes left on the clock total so like 15 minutes each by the time the game was over, which was fantastic. So we were able to go get some lunch. During oh wait, let me stop. What was the team up for what was the team for the first place? Oh, CQ top 3. Oh, I thought I sent that link. It's in the link. But yeah, we could look at that if you want. We can look at that in a little bit, Nelson. But anyway, so for lunch, I'm having lunch with some of those guys, and like I was saying before, it was the life after GW crew. A lot of guys were just complaining about, they were sick of GW and they're so happy that they found this game. And I was, disgruntled GW guys. And the interesting thing, though, was like no one cared what I played. No one cared. They were like, because I was asking, like, what do you play besides this game? And I play GW. But only one person of like the 7 or 8 people I talked to during the lunch break were actually interested in what I played, right? And I'm like, well, I play Malifaux, we play BMG, we play Aristea, and they just didn't care, right? Maybe, I don't know. Should I take that personally? Maybe they don't want to game with me. They didn't like what I did in the first game. Who knows? But it was cool, whatever, right? It was fun. So second game's rolling around. I'm preparing myself mentally to face the power gamer at this point, because that's the normal timing of things. Because when you win your first game, in a Swiss pairing, you get the pair up, right? So you're going to be playing against somebody else that won their first game. And chances are, you have a much higher likelihood of running into your resident power gamer on the second game. So I'm like, I'm just going to get wrecked on the second game, whatever, right? So second game rolls up, and my opponent was my favorite opponent the whole day, right? It was actually the opposite. So his name was Jason, and he was I won a game. I actually do want a game with Jason. He seems like a super, super cool guy. He did, I hope this isn't embarrassing or out of line. He had a little bit of a speech impediment, and sometimes that kind of slowed down the game a little bit. But he's a very sharp guy, super fun. And the best thing about the second game was that I was playing, Web Warriors, and he was playing Spider Foes. And it could not have been a cooler matchup for either of us. So we were both pretty hype when we got to that table. It's the name. So we were both pretty hype. I should also point out, my first opponent was not fully painted. My second opponent was fully painted. So fully painted spider foes against my web heads. Dude! And we're just like losing our shit. I'm like, it's so cool. And he's figuring out he wants to play. Like, I'm like, dude, are you going to play Venom and Carnage? And he's like, oh, I'm definitely playing Carnage. So he put Carnage down. So I ran the exact same team. And he played, he played Goblin, Carnage, Omega Red, Lizard, and who was the other one? Wait, Goblin, Carnage, Omega Red, Lizard, and Mysterio. And I'm like, dude, yes! And I'm like cheering on, because, his Mysterio was really cool. He had the metallic dome on his Mysterio, and he looked at my Mysterio, and I have like the misty glass thing, and we were both like, oh man, your Mysterio is cool. Yeah, so is yours. It's so dope. So, and he almost tempted me. He's like, can you do mirror match? And I'm like, I can't really field a cool 18 threat because I swapped Daredevil in for Lizard. Otherwise, I could have done it, right? So I end up playing the exact same team. I end up winning priority. I give him spider portals, and he gives me hammers. Same thing as round one, and I'm like, oh, this is gonna be bad for him because I'm looking at the team and he doesn't have really much speed on his side except for Goblin, outside of Goblin, right? And in this matchup, it's actually kind of bad because Goblin has to go after Peter, right? So I can kind of, and Jose was able to watch the back half of this game, but I was able to just kind of troll him along, like troll Goblin off to the side with Peter, and then just win basically the rest of the points by playing the most Catman. It was by far the most Catman game I have ever played. And this includes games I've played as Catman, right? Most of you guys in the chat have played against my Catman. You know what I do with Catman. Now imagine I have a whole team of Catman. Okay? Just, can we go over my lineup again? Right? Amazing Spider-Man, Miles, Gwen, Black Cat, Daredevil. I have a whole team of Catman against his guys. Now, I did play, and I didn't play this game as well. And I'll tell you why. Even though I won by a much bigger margin, I didn't play this game as well because there was like a turn, maybe even 2 turns, where I had Miles, Peter, and I think Gwen close enough to Carnage, right? And I was purposely not attacking Carnage. Like, he moved Carnage up, and he wanted, every time he thought he was going to get Carnage into the fight, I was able to just skeet past him, like, zeet, zeet. And he's like, here I come, Carnage is coming. And I'm like, oh shit! And I just ran, basically, bitch moved away from Carnage every chance I got, right? Because he's the real threat on the board. Lizard, not too worried about. Omega Red, kind of slow, right? And I was able, the problem with his list is he wanted to play aggressive with Mysterio, which is cool, but I think it's a mistake in this scenario. I think in this scenario, you keep Mysterio in the back for 2 turns. You throw Omega Red up as far as you can because he's got to get in there and bruise with Lizard, Omega Red, and Carnage. You got to get those guys into it, and then Goblin and Mysterio should be doing more of the objective stuff because Goblin is the only guy who can keep up with the web warriors. But anyways, I pulled out. It was a clinic of the Catman moves. Okay, and let me explain what I was doing. So he would come after Felicia with Lizard, right? And he would attack Lizard. He would attack Felicia. I would explain to him he's not allowed to modify his dice because of her bad luck, and then I was able to re-roll one die because of Miles. So keeping her somewhat alive or as patched up as I could. I think Gwen did her Gwen thing again and did the patch up on. Yeah, she did the patch up on Felicia when Felicia was really hurt. Patched her back up to full. And then as soon as Felicia was full, and Lizard was still there trying to wail on her, she yoinked the hammer from Lizard and then just bitched out of the game. In the same turn, Miles did his web thing to yoink the other hammer away from Goblin. So it got kind of bad at the end because I had all 4 points and all 4 hammers because I managed to steal the last 2 in that same turn. But it was super funny. Jason and I were doing the voices the whole game. Take that, Spider-Man! Like the entire time. Every time we flip, and the points, he was flipping the points, which I don't know what to. In his case, he may have what he probably should have done. He's gone after all 4 hammers and really spent the next 2 turns beating me down, even if it meant, giving up a lead for a little while. I think that would have been his better bet, because as he starts to beat me down, then he can start taking those points back. And he had Carnage. He had Carnage and Omega Red on the board. He could have done some hurt, but he was using a lot of energy to flip points back, and I just don't know that was the best strategy. It was fun, but against a team that's just going to keep zipping around, basically kite him and keep flipping points, it was like, I'm happy to spend my activation doing that, and he should not be happy spending his activations doing that. The Mysterio turn where he played the dope Mysterio card, that was scary. That was the turn where he should have dropped. He had Carnage in position. He should have just put Carnage right in that spot and ended my life. But I think I got off to like big gigantic leads, and that I think that just kind of put him on the back foot. Great game though, super fun. Again, we ended super early. All my games ended super early. So ended super early. Was able to hang out with Jose for a little bit. And then get ready for my 3rd game, right? So, so at this point I had 2 really good games under my belt, really fun games, and I was like, man, the streak is definitely over. I'm 2-0. There is a 0% chance that I'm gonna get lined up with a very fun player, which is sad, right? It's a sad statement about the more popular games, in my opinion, when you have the more popular games. And that's why I miss Guild Ball so much, because when you're playing Guild Ball, when you get to your 3rd game, even if you'd won 2 games, in our community anyways, you are going to get a cool opponent for that 3rd game, right? If you're 2-0, right, in our meta, if you were 2-0, you're going to face, typically you would face like 3 or 4 different players, Kevin being the most common one. You could face Andrew. You could face Nathan, which is that is a kind of an excruciating game, but Nathan is fun to play with, and you could match him for intensity, and it's great. You could run into me. You could run into Regan, right? That's typically in Guild Ball. That's who if you won 2 games in a tournament, those are the guys you're going to run into. And I promise you're going to have a very sharp, entertaining game. You're not going to have a miserable experience, right? So that leads us into Game 3. And the Game 3 game was somebody that I had seen playing on Thursday. And it looked like he wasn't explaining anything. On Thursday, he was just would just double move his pieces up the board, and he was still doing 9,000 things during his activation, not explaining any of it, giving himself a bunch of power. And this was like turn 1. I watched him do it twice. He had like 6 power on everybody, and was doing 3 attacks and 2 moves. And I'm like, what is this guy, right? So, anyways, that's my game for game 3. And that's where my luck ran out. I did not win priority. And so this guy was able to pick his, what do you call that? Shit in the middle of the board mission. I get to stand in the middle of the board with my unkillable, annoying bullshit, and you don't get to do anything. And I'm like, okay, with what the options I had left, it was like do this one, where I can pick up one thing, or do the scroll, which is like, okay, at least the scroll gives me a chance of winning on a sideline or getting to the scroll before he does, and then running off and just starting to pick up points and force him to chase me. Unfortunately, my luck ran out again on that one, and he got super lucky getting the scroll on Doctor Strange, who is basically unkillable in this one super, whatever the hell it is, unkillable super gods of guys and thing. Right? He had the internet, Reddit says to do this, and that's what he had. And it was miserable. It was a miserable experience. Okay, and it was like, oh yeah, and so I'm like, yeah, now I remember why my friends don't like playing public tournaments for a lot of these games, right? Because it's miserable. Now, is it miserable because I'm going to lose the game? No. And I realized this afterwards. I realized that even had I won that game, it still would have been somewhat miserable. Okay? And it's because it isn't because of the game. It isn't because of the game. It's because there are just people like that out there who are, to put it lightly, they're fun vampires. Right? They come in and they just suck the joy out of your gaming experience. And okay. I'm going to get deep and philosophical on everybody for a minute here, okay? So bear with. We're gonna, maybe this little talk, maybe do a little soul searching because of this talk, but I promise you the soul searching you do, probably going to be a good thing, okay? I've talked about this a little bit with some friends of mine in private, that kind of see me in the professional world, and they've seen me in my hobby world, and they've seen me in my family life and that sort of thing. Hold on, Jason. He did all of his stuff. Basically, it was all set in stone. It was all predetermined before the game even happened. He already knew. It was like a logarithm of, or I should say, a protocol of decisions that were already predetermined. If player X does this, do this. If this does this, do this. Right? So it was just very, it was very just absent, right? It just wasn't, like, it's not an experience. You just sit there, you roll the dice. We already know what decisions he's gonna make before he even makes. Even I knew by like the third turn. I was like, oh, okay, he can bodyguard heal. He could add this dice. He's gonna do it all the time. Right? He's always going to have power because vision. He's always going to have bodyguard because of Okoye. He's always going to have rerolls because of Doctor Strange. He's always going to have the ability to move or gain even more power because of vision sap. So like I knew everything, and I could have the thing that was so upsetting about it was the fact that after 2 turns, I could have played his army for him. That he could have got up and left. He could have just left a decision tree on the board, and that would have been it. And like we could have just picked up and left, right? That's the problem I had with, at least with the mechanics of the game. But I had another problem with the spirit of the game, okay? And the motivations behind why would you even do such a thing, right? So let me go back to my deep philosophical question, or my philosophy on this. So with friends that have kind of seen me in both worlds and that sort of thing, my theory is this: those of us who are we're all adults here, that enter such a deep hobby, a deep and intensive hobby as this, that includes all kinds of facets to it: collecting, art, mathematics, right, strategy, tactics. This hobby is very intensive. It appeals to so many different aspects of our personalities, right? Good and bad, right? Because we become, it also kind of plays to some of our addictive behaviors and that sort of thing. But my theory has always been that all of us playing these games, that we have a deeper reason for why we're in the hobby. We're trying to either, we're trying to learn something about ourselves. We're trying to maybe we're trying to retain some aspect of our more youthful experience. Maybe maybe it really is the best facet we've found for socializing. But whatever the reason, we're all kind of looking for something. We play these games, we play them over and over and over again. And I don't think it's not always because we want to see who wins and who loses. And it's almost never been that for me. But what I'm getting at is that there are some people whose reason is for being in this hobby is because they're really looking for some sort of joyful or happy experience, but they don't have the disposition to gain it. So that's rough. Okay, so what I just said was pretty messed up. There are some people that that struggle to enjoy things in their life, and they think that they might be able to get that here. And when they don't get, they don't get it here because they're using the same approach that they use in the rest of their life, which is really proceed with a joyless experience, right? And I can't explain or I struggle to understand it because I just got finished telling you, like, if you play Guild Ball and you actually do well in our Guild Ball tournaments, you're gonna play someone great, and you're gonna have a good time. And you probably will lose the game. You'll learn a lot, and you'll have a good time. You'll probably lose the game, but you'll feel better for just having a good game with a really experienced, really, really strong player. But our Guild Ball meta has occasionally had people that fancied themselves to be superior gaming intellects, for lack of a better term. They fancied themselves to be good at whatever skill you might think winning a Guild Ball game requires. And, when you dissect it, who really, not many of us have the chops to handle a Kevin or a Nathan or an Andrew on a regular basis, right? Not many of us do. And that is kind of a truth of some of these games. But there are other people out there that it's not, even if you beat them, because they approach everything with such a joyless um, demeanor, it doesn't mean anything. And I'm thinking of actually a couple of particular players that I've either has been in our meta or I've faced where um, like when I run into them, it's like I'm gonna win 19 out of 20 games against this person, but I'm not gonna enjoy any of them. I'm not gonna enjoy, but I'm gonna not enjoy 20 out of 20 games, if that makes sense, right? You just, it's the thing about miniature games is that you're you lining up on one side of the board and the other person lining up on the other side of the board, and you have very different goals for what you need out of that game or what you're looking for out of that game. Can mean that you're not going to get a great experience. And probably neither are they. But what I was explaining as well is that unfortunately, they're probably not going to get the experience that they're looking for at all. And that's probably the saddest thing. That's probably very sad, right? Sometimes you can just read it on people. Like there's like that, like I could read it on that guy well before running into him, and I'm like, just saw him playing this, not explaining anything, just kind of pushing his stuff up, rolling the dice, and he's just moving the pieces around, and it's all very mechanical. And I'm watching that, and I'm going, have you smiled once? Like, are you even enjoying? Like, this is like excruciating. Like, it was really depressing. It was really depressing. Because I roll up, I'm like, hey man, check it out, blah blah blah. He had he had a most of his pieces painted. I'm like, oh, that was such a good job you did there on the lighting for Doctor Strange, that kind of thing, and and that sort of thing, right? We roll up and we're kind of friendly. We don't know anybody, but he was just joyless. It was just so sad. I didn't care about losing the game. I lost the game bad. Right? I basically put up a donut that game, right? And that's fine. But I had to just sort of, from a leisure standpoint, I had checked out of that game. I checked out of it because it's just this is just not good, right? Let me learn some things, and the discussion we had after the game was also very depressing. I was like, what would you have done if you were me? And he's like, well, just take better stuff. What? I'm like, okay, yeah, there's some, right? He made a good point. He's like, you may have been better off with spider foes in this case, and that sort of thing. But even he was admitting, like, but you're still not going to kill any of my stuff. You're still not going to, he was like, you're still not going to kill any of my stuff. You're still pretty much not going to win this game because you're just not equipped. I am like perfectly suited to win this scenario, right? And it was just like sad, right? It's just sad. Now, I've had games where I've beaten somebody pretty bad, and again, I'm going back to Guild Ball. Like, I've had games where, you run into somebody and they're super nice or whatever, and I try to keep the game super nice as well and be very considerate. And, you beat the guy, like you 12-0 somebody. You try not to, but you 12-0 somebody. And then they ask you, what could I have done better? There have been a couple occasions where it's like, well, I just managed to get a goal, and you had a poor kick, and I snapshotted, and I'm like, you can explain that in a positive way. You can say things like, okay, had that not so horribly gone the other way, you did play this well. You did look like you could have been in position, to put a real threat down on this side of the board. You know what I'm saying, right? When you workshop a game, a game that you won handily, and the other person's like asking you for things, you can't just. And I don't. And maybe that is the answer, right? Just take better stuff, and follow the internet and that sort of thing. Maybe let's assume that is the answer. I still think that um, you know that you can still do all of what he did and have the exact same outcome, but still made it at the very least like an enjoyable experience for somebody. And that's what I take issue with, right? Yeah, okay, he took a super powerful net list whatever bullshit, right? Yeah, he had it perfectly tailored for the thing, and I really had almost no chance of winning once he won priority. Okay, I get that, right? Um, he had been complaining about Web Warriors so much because he had been preparing specifically to face Web Warriors. So, okay, he did his homework. Cool, right? But I I have to question, like, where's your enjoyment coming from? Right? Where's the enjoyment coming from? Because I feel like he was just as miserable to play that game as I was. And watching his other game, I feel like he was just as miserable to play that game. Like, it's okay. I'm gonna use a really awful analogy. So if this is upsetting, thumbs down or whatever, right? But it's almost like if you've ever seen like a true heroin addict or something like that, right? The time they take that first hit, they're in ecstasy. It's the greatest thing. They're super happy. They have joy. They have everything they need. But a heroin addict is a heroin addict. When they're in the addiction stage, they'll never get that first hit back. They'll never have joy back, right? They're just doing it because they have to, and it almost felt like that. All right. Counterpoint. Not to be mean or rude, it's not really his job to make it enjoyable for other players in a tourney setting. His enjoyment comes from first place. Yeah, fair. It's a fair point. It isn't his job. It isn't his job, Nelson, to do that. But I still question. I don't know. I question. I just finished explaining the analogy of the heroin addict. Like, he's getting the hit? Is it? But at this point, right? Is it just the damage is done and you're just following up on your addiction? I don't know. Anyways, no, it's not anyone's job to make sure that the other player has a good time. But it is a damn good best practice. If you are going to be playing miniature games and you want people to play miniature games with you. So no, not a job, not an obligation, nothing like that. But probably a really, really, really good idea. So I'll just leave it. I'll leave that there. He could just be on the extreme end. Yeah, possibly. Yeah, possibly. I mean, I'm sure there with many people that are like super super deep into hobbies, not just this hobby. I mean, that's probably true, right? A lot of people embrace hobbies because they don't have they may be not able to interact with people in other settings in a preferable manner. So yeah, that's an extremely good point. So, anyways, it's one of the reasons why whatever the reasoning is, it's one of the reasons why I recalled why I did not like playing in large public meta events is because you got to take the good with the bad. You got to accept both of that, right? Yeah, exactly. You get a lot of that, right? And you just have to accept it. You just have to accept it. And I will say that I do accept that. I signed up for that when some of you guys actually kind of mocked me a little bit for like, what? You're gonna what? Why? That was the reaction I got from some folks. Was just like, why would you do that? Oh, yeah, I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna go play in this public tournament. At least 3 or 4 people said that to me. What? Why would you put yourself through that? Why would you do that? Right? So I did sign up for that. Right? I did know full well, and I was even messaging our chats and stuff like, yeah, Power Gaming's coming, here it comes, and then we saw it on Thursday night. I'm like, met the Power Gamer, there he was, right? So none of this is surprising, guys. I guess I'm getting it out here because it's an interesting thing for us to discuss, but I will say, it's within my expectations, but right now I'm really just expressing that I wish it could be a little different. How about that? Right? Let's see. In some scenes a lot less than others, yeah. I've been a bad opponent before and it feels really bad. Oh, I've also been, I have stories of that. When I was playing 40K, I've been a bad opponent. But see, here's the thing too. When I was doing that in 40K, I was a bad opponent. And I won a lot of tournaments. I won a lot of tournaments in 3rd and 4th edition 40K. Won a lot of tournaments. And I'm not saying this as a brag. I am saying this to explain though that those were joyless experiences. They really were. They were joyless. They were not, I won, I remember I won this tournament in Redlands where I was playing, it was a 1,000-point tournament and I was playing Alpha Legion. I had 1,000 points at Alpha Legion, which was just mathematically ridiculous, okay? It was basic Marine troopers, but I was able to infiltrate so much heavy and special weaponry at 1,000 points, then nobody can really field anything that could mathematically handle it, right? Here we go. So I was that guy. And, and I was just mauling people. I just like table, right? Just wrecking people with that. But it was so bad. It was such a joyless experience that that in that edition, I quit playing tournaments altogether after that. I was like, what's the point? Right, I'm not having any fun doing this. It's, I want to get back to enjoying my game. Winning tournaments can be addicting when again, we go back to heroin, right? You get that dopamine hit. You won a tournament, you did something, you accomplished something. That's great. But it didn't. Well, once you get past that, and you show up expecting to win, it's joyless. It's you got to challenge yourself in different ways, and so when I played Malifaux for the first time in 2011, so 10 years ago, I played Malifaux in 2011, and very similar situation. We were teaching people how to play the game, but I was like, I want to play in a tournament. And I hadn't played in a tournament since 40K 5th edition? I think I played in some 5th edition tournaments. I don't remember. But it had been a while. And I quit GW. And I was like, okay, I'm going to jump in this Malifaux tournament. And I jumped in the Malifaux tournament. And that was really kind of a formative moment for me, because I jump in this Malifaux tournament and I run into a guy named Jake, and play a game with him, and it was one of the best miniature game experiences I've had. Flat out. Period. Right? Had so much fun. Laughed the entire game. It was so awesome. And his enthusiasm was just absolutely just off the charts. It was super great to be around. Jake and I kind of have this like banter that just doesn't end, right? So that night, I ended up winning that Malifaux tournament. And my brother was with me, and he's like, oh, you still got it, man. You can play this and win all the tournaments here too, and that just made me so sad. That just made I was like, no, nope. I remember how miserable I was. No. And at that point, so from that moment on in the Malifaux career, I said no. This is it. I'm not doing this. I'm not playing Malifaux the way I played 40K. I'm not gonna submit myself to that miserable, joyless experience. So I became a volunteer. I applied for to be a Malifaux henchman that night, and said I'm not gonna play competitive tournaments ever again. I'm just not gonna do it. And I'd exchange contact stuff with Jake, and I told him, he's like, dude, let's play more tournaments. You're super good at this game. We should play more. I'm like, no, well, yeah, we're totally gonna play more, but I want my focus to be, I want to challenge myself in a new way, and I want that challenge to be being a host. I want to be a host. I want to be a TO. I'd rather just do that. I would rather help people enjoy the game than be the guy that who clinically wins a tournament. And so I committed to that in 2011, and that like I said, that was when you realized, okay, you're pretty good at miniature games, but really, what really made me happy was growing the community, getting people together. That's really my hobby is teaching people how to do stuff like this and play the game, but getting people together and keeping this really super fun atmosphere. That's the thing that will never lose its joy. And I know it sounds super preachy, right, and a little sad, but it's true. If you play these miniature games and you're good at them, great. You can be, it really wasn't until Guild Ball and meeting guys like Kevin and Andrew, and where you could see where I was able to see that, well, no, you can be that excellent level player. You can be that high performing player. You just don't have to be a dick at the same time. You know what I mean? So that was also a really cool learning experience as well, was coming to that understanding. Because that's an important one too. So anyways, that was really the launch of, and even after, I forgot to mention this, but even after I won the second game, and the TO was like, hey man, it looks like you're going to be, he's like, you only played this game 3 times or whatever, you're going to be in one of the top tables. I'm like, yeah, it's kind of weird. And he's like, yeah, I remember you from Kingdom Con and all the stuff that you host regularly. And I said to him, I'm like, you know what, that's really my home. Like, he's like, I said, that's really my home. It's really what I like to do. I rather host. And I told him, because it seemed like he really wanted to play. He really wanted to play, and he's a super cool guy. And I said, look, dude, I can't be a judge because I don't know this game well enough, but if you just need a host, somebody to run the tree, and that kind of thing, run the admin stuff, I'm happy to do that, dude. Like, I'm totally cool to do that. And I'm like, let's, if we can agree on a date, I'll just do that, and you can, we can have another judge, but I'll just be the TO, right? And he kind of laughed, and he's like, that's one thing I notice about you TO folks is like, you guys, that's just in your DNA. You just do that, right? And I'm like, yeah, pretty much. Any game that I get into, that I'm willing to host for, that's pretty much it. So, just a reaffirmation of what my actual hobby is, right? What I actually do, or what I actually get the most enjoyment from is getting, building communities and teaching people, and striving and trying to get out and meet new people. That was, again, part of the reason why I jumped into that tournament, was the prospect of meeting new people. Our regular crew is super fun to play with, but it wouldn't hurt, right, to get out there and find some other people that match our energy, that match our disposition, and that have a reasonable amount of money to keep up with the ever-changing gaming landscape that we have, right? You got to have somebody that has some level of disposable income to keep up with all the different games we collect and play. So anyways, it was really good overall. It was really good because for me, because it reaffirmed a lot of things that I hadn't visited about myself in the hobby for a long time, right? Having the good experiences, having the bad experiences, that all kind of helped me, recenter myself and recall, what it is I like to do, and what it is I like to do and why, and get me back into that, to where I want to be in the hobby. Would I play in another MCP tournament again? Probably not, unless I'm the hosting and it's uneven. That's just me. And I will say this: I've enjoyed 100% of every tournament or every event I've hosted. Right? That's the stats, right? My tournament record, I've probably enjoyed 35-40% of all the tournaments I've won. That's sad, right? So I got about a 35% hit rate for tournaments that I've won. And the tournaments that I've won that I enjoyed, that I've really enjoyed of late, was the last one was the Precursor Cup, which I was playing Ringer, and I ended up, I think I ended up beating Kevin for that. I'm like, I beat Kevin, of course I get a cup, because I was planning on giving this. It was like a, you guys have seen it. It's the brass. It's not as nice as a Kingdom Cup. It's a step down, and I won that off myself. But I'm really proud of that day. I'm really proud of that tournament because I ran post Nerf Midas. I ran the table, right? I won all my games, and it was one of those tournaments I beat Kevin, right? It was like, it's like Andrew winning the Kingdom Cup too. He had to go through Kevin to do it. And that's such a big deal, and those games are so fun. Right? And you're going up against Kevin. Like, who's going to beat Kevin? It's like takes forever for one of us to get a win off of Kevin. But we know playing Kevin is super fun. You're just going to get wrecked. Right? That's why Kevin, like, that, but that's like the good side of competitive play. Kevin and, like, they're kind of unicorns in terms of competitive play, where it's like, uh, the person's that is going to force you to the top of your game, but you're going to really enjoy it. You're really going to enjoy the experience. And I wish it was the rule rather than the exception. You know what I mean? So, let's see. Let's read some comments. I'm going to... Okay, I'm sorry. I skipped a bunch of... Okay. Legion started off pretty casual. The more you get the power gamers that leak in, it's just a natural thing with this hobby and these types of games is that as they grow in popularity, you have an ecosystem of players, and then the predators move in, and then the sharks get in, and what you don't want, I call it the shark tank. Right, where you have a relatively isolated meta full of newer players, casual people that genuinely enjoy one another's company, and you let a shark in there, right, and it's gone. That meta's just gone, and the little gaming community subculture you've created is destroyed. You got to look out for that. All right, I don't ever expect I have fun in a miniature tourney anymore after X-Wing. That sounds horrible, Nelson. We should get you on the show to talk about that. It's because I think that this kind of discussion would be great as more of a round table. Just hear other people's experiences and that kind of thing. See what Octave is saying. If you give up having fun just to crush souls, you lose something yourself. Yeah, you do. You do. I did that, right? I was that guy. I was that guy that I was across the table from. And yes, I'm complaining about that guy, but I say this with sincerity. I also really feel for that guy. Because I was that guy. I remember what that's like. But anyway, and yeah, and I know I would love it if more people kind of found their way and reconciled with themselves that, okay, I can enjoy it this way or I can enjoy it that way. All right, Kelly was like, why wasn't I in? Yeah, yeah, they were asking about all of you guys. Because I know you guys play. It was funny for some people because it was like, wait a minute, Octave doesn't play. They've seen me just sit there and watch you guys play MCP. Octave doesn't play, but you guys play. And then the tournament happened, and Octave showed up, and you guys did not. So some head scratching going on there. Let's see. Same time, I agree. If you need the W, then you need to be strict on rules. Yes. See, okay, so here's the thing, Andrew. Yes, you need to be strict and tight, but what does Guild Ball reward you for? It rewards you for clean play, for fair play, right? The best players in the world are the cleanest players in the world, and they're very strict on gameplay. And you can be that in Guild Ball. In my opinion, you can be that in Guild Ball. And it does make for a better experience for both players because it's one of the main stated goals of a game of Guild Ball. Okay, cool. It becomes work rather than play. Yep, exactly. There's a quote from a top golfer said to an amateur he was paired with, after the amateur started to berate themselves, enjoy the day, you're not good enough to get mad. I love that. That's a great quote. You're not good enough to get mad. Nice. Kevin's super surgical player, but it's the doctor that makes you laugh. Yeah, right. Kevin's got great bedside manner, and Kevin is so. Here's the thing, when you see Kevin is just such a non-threatening. He's just such a non-threatening presence. He comes, he shows up, just kind of, hey, how's it going, everybody? Super happy to be there, always really enthusiastic. Oh, you painted that thing? That's so cool, man. That's awesome. Kevin, what are you gonna run today? Oh, I'm gonna run Yan Lo. We're like, son of a, it wrecks so hard. right? I'm gonna play McCabe. Oh no, not that again. But yeah, it's Kevin, and you're like, this guy's great though. You're gonna play games with this guy, and you're gonna be a better player. Yes, you're gonna get wrecked hard in the face, horrible, bad, but you are gonna be a better player. You're gonna enjoy the experience. So, so I don't turn down games with Kevin if I can manage it. Yeah, let's play, dude, because I'm gonna learn something. Um, just bad scheduling. Yeah. Right. And here's the thing too, Jason. The game. I mean, as much as I want to sit here and preach about how cool it is to be the organizer and how I enjoy 100% of all the stuff I organize, which is, again, it's true. The bottom line is, winning and losing these games is a major part of the game. You're playing a head-to-head game, right? Of course you want to win. Yeah, if you're playing, you're playing with your friends. You love your friends. Great. Hey, what's up, Sean? You're playing with your friends. Of course, you want to win. You want to beat your friend at the game. Not like you're like, I hate Nelson. I totally want to just stomp his guts out. Playing some Lord of the Rings or whatever. It's not like that. It's you're playing your friends. You want to have a good game, and yeah, of course you want to win the game. It's just not the most important thing in the setting that we play, right? We've had one. I know, Jason, that when I was learning Malifaux, that I would go in and out of that kind of competitive mode, and now we get frustrated with things. I'm like, man, why is that so OP? Why is that so ridiculous? That kind of thing. But the good thing is, we have a good group of guys that'll be like, if you're frustrated about something, and plenty of players have done this with me. They said, after a tournament or something like that, they may have been frustrated with their performance. It's not so much that they needed to win games, but they're genuinely frustrated with how things are performing, and they may ask me, like, okay, what do you think about this? Can you are there any pointers? Because not that I'm so much an expert on these games, but that I'm actually observe. I'm in a position to observe a lot of games, right? So when like one of our players asks me, well, what do you think about this? I can actually answer within the context of what I've observed with them as a player. You know what I mean? It's a very unique perspective. It's not like it's not like I'm saying, oh, I'm just so much of an expert at the game. It's, Sean, you're asking me, does this particular lineup look good? And I'll look at that, and then I'll kind of measure that against what I know about Sean and Sean's tendencies and what he likes to play, and my feedback is based on that, and that's the value in my feedback, right? So Sean can get valuable feedback from me, not so much me being like a Kevin. He'll get different advice from both of us in some cases, and it's up to him to go, oh, well, Kevin says that this is objectively a smarter move or a stronger selection, right? But Octave pointed out that I like to play this way, and while this may not be a stronger selection, it's more comfortable for me, right? So sometimes you can offer perspective like that for a player that's going to be different than, we'll say, what the internet says, right? The internet says, always take Okoye as a body card. But if you know the player, you might say, hey, you know what, though? You really like Okoye, and you probably want to play a little bit more aggressively with her, so maybe you do something a little different. That's all I'm saying. So, right, and that's the cool thing about, helping. You want to beat your friends at the games. You do, but you also want to get sharper. right? Iron sharpening iron. It's the right. That's one of the goals of having your regular gaming group. And and like I was saying earlier, the one time a year you get to beat Kevin in a game of Guild Ball, like that's such a great day. Like it's a good day. Like, wow, yeah, but you're gonna lose the next one. Right? You're like, okay, 19 more games until I can possibly beat Kevin again. That's typically how it works. But yeah, I overall saw the MCP, playing in the MCP as a positive experience, right? Even my my not so positive interaction in the third game, even that was, I took a positive away from that because I just got a lot of introspective stuff, and I got a lot of thinking done with that, and a lot of processing of But let's be fair here. I was never going to be the guy that shows up to every MCP tournament. Right? I'm just never going to be that person unless I'm hosting it, right? So, but yeah, I would host an MCP tournament. Well, okay. Let me explain it this way. I would host an MCP tournament. I'm most likely to host an MCP tournament as part of an Extra Life event. Well, I really got green on his boot there. I got to fix that. Right? As part of an Extra Life day. Why? Because the people who will show up to my Extra Life event are going to be the cool people. Right? You're not going to have, there's not going to be, Netlist Beta Man or McMeta Man showing up. Oh, I can't wait. Donate a bunch of money to kids, and then I'm going to win this MCP tournament. It's not going to happen. Right? The people showing up for Extra Life are there to have a good time. And it's going to be, and it's great setting, and why not? So I'll tell you right now, I am seriously considering that being the tournament that we play instead of, the Guild Ball tournament in the past or that kind of thing. So Nelson, Jason, if you guys do want to play in an MCP tournament that's just full of the cool folks that we're used to being around all the time, well, there you go. It's probably what we gonna do. All right, I'm going to do a little patch here. Just a little stipple patch of some white so that I can, because cleaning up into yellow is a pain. You gotta just kind of patch that, and then I'll fix it later. You'll have extra. I know Extra Life is great. Extra Life is so much fun. We get to paint. We get to game. We're doing a good thing. We're just throwing money around. We make it rain up in there. I love it. Right? Oh, we need more tickets for this. We just boom, and we just start throwing money at shit. It's super fun. I'm like, oh, I want that too, and we just start throwing. I hope we can do it this year. Last year it was all virtual. This year it looks like we are going to be able to do some fun. No, we did have a. I think we did have a guild. We had a Guild Ball tournament, but it wasn't much of an Extra Life thing. Yeah, but see, okay. Here's the other thing I learned from that MCP tournament. I learned that if you're even with a little bit of analysis, 90-minute rounds seem to be okay. If everybody's kind of go, if you have that kind of sense of a Guild Ball round, like we do, MCP tournament can go fast. The weird part for me was the fact that the top table, that they were kind of under the gun there for time. They went to that final game. They had to go into overtime because it was like tie game almost the entire time. So Um, okay, let's get some. Let me get a little skin tone in here too. Please host my future tournaments. Yeah, dude. I that's me. I just that like I said, I just gave you the whole origin story of how I became a TO. You guys got the whole thing. It was from winning a Malifaux tournament and going, don't want that to be my life, boys. And so that's how that happened. But yeah, it but MCP is fun. It's a very fun game. It is. You know it. The other thing I was gonna say, and I think I pointed this out, is the mental fatigue just did not happen. Right? I did not suffer mental fatigue the way you normally do after Malifaux, after Guild Ball. Um, you just don't have it. Even playing several games of Aristea in a row, you might get a little bit of it. But MCP, I was like, nah, man. The games were done so quick and whatever. You're like, no, I could easily go another round. That really wouldn't have been a problem. So that's a nice thing that MCP kind of has going for it. Well, it's only 2 missions to track, and the transaction between characters is it's all pretty much just boils down to how many dice, how does this work, right? It's not a lot. It really isn't when it comes down to, right? Your list building is super fast. It's like Guild Ball fast, right? You have even in Guild Ball you have 12 people, and you have to pick 6. In this game, you have 10, and you might only be picking 4 people, depending on the mission, right? So yeah. So it is kind of nice. It is, and setting up the boards also pretty easy. The game has a lot going for it in terms of its convenience and its accessibility. He's so buff. Okay. I gotta get this part right. Boop. I want that little hole in the curly Q there. Do you guys remember a movie? No, you don't, because you're all younger than me, but do you remember a movie in the 80s called Q that was about a flying dragon in like modern times that would swoop down and eat people? That movie was hilarious. And that dragon in Q is pretty much that symbol right there. Gotta go to bed. Good night, Andrew. Thanks for popping in, dude. We're gonna get together soon, man. And we got plans. Me and Andrew got big plans, guys. We gotta. So stay tuned for some stuff that we're gonna share on this channel and on some of my other social media as well. So good night, Andrew. Yeah, not gonna leak that yet. But anyway, yeah, that's that symbol here, the dragon from Q. Accessibility, yeah, convenience. It's got the IP that so many people love, and then the main thing, there's always something to buy. And Nelson has all but sold me on that apartment building. I really kind of want it. I love that you can you can kind of just snap fit the levels so you can collapse it down for better transport, and you could play it as a smaller size building. I love that. Look at that. guy has the exact same body I have. You just have us perfect six-pack ab dudes. It's how we roll. Alright. So, let me fix my little patch here. Boop. There we go. And then let's do a little highlight on his green leggings. We're going to mix a little scorpion green into this. My one regret is I probably should have been playing MCP a little earlier with you guys. So I will just come out and admit you guys were right. I was wrong. MCP is worth the time to invest in a team and some games. So congrats to you guys for being right. So yeah. Oh, thanks. Thanks, Sean. Yeah, we're gonna. I'm gonna slowly build up a little. We don't really want to over highlight the legs, but I do at least want you to be able to tell that we did something down here. But you know what the problem with that would have been, Nelson? If I had been playing when you guys were really building up and playing, is then I would have less time to paint all your stuff. So I did you a solid, right? Think about all those weeks back to back where we just plowed through all your stuff. See? You're welcome. But yeah. Now you guys knew I was going to play when certain teams popped up, right? I said, oh yeah, I'll get in when I'll start playing when we start to see a good spider team forming up, and especially when Sinister 6 shows up. So the minute that Lizard Craven thing hit the shelf, you guys knew I was in. So. And so Jose, plays your opponent Octave, but MCP still not. Yeah, no worries, dude. I want to film content for it, though. I will say that. I do want to film. I have this crazy idea of doing. Okay, I want to do TikTok battle reports for MCP. Not even lying. I want to do TikTok battle reports for MCP. So 1 minute battle reports, guys. I seriously want to do that. And I think I can. It's going to take a little practice. I may screw up the first reports or so, but especially when we're doing like if I catch a lunch game with Sean or something, if I can get a 1 minute AAR out of that, be pretty dope, right? Throw up a roster, throw up the scenario, and then kind of recap the turns like super quick. This guy went over here, attacked this guy, did 2 damage. This guy went over here, did this, right? 6 power, here we go. Next turn, right? If you were able to do, I think a TikTok battle report would be crazy. It would be crazy. Nelson fact. Still waiting for Vulture and Rhino. Yes. They decide I know, but you know what that does, Sean? Is it makes me also want to play 4-point Peter Parker. 4th threat. Because 4th threat Peter Parker is also super kind of dope. Don't get me wrong, I love my amazing Spider-Man, right? He's so great. I love him at 5. Because he's just awesome. And he makes that one dude cry because the rerolls. But 4th threat is such a great little control piece. And, you play him in different situations. And I want to have a more pure, especially when Moon Knight comes out, I do want to have a pure or more, well, I'll say a more Web Warriors focused 10, where it really is mostly just the good guys, right? Because it's like I see it as like eight Web Warriors and like 2 flex spots in there, which will be Okoye. I'm just kidding, but yeah, we will have. I will diverge both of those teams. Right, have Sinister Six as their own 10, basically, and then have Spider Boys as their own 10. Yeah, 1 minute battle. Think about how cool that would be. 1 minute battle reports. I'm thinking about doing a 1 minute, another like speed painting thing for Scarlet Witch there. Oh, I have some skin. I need to kind of work on her. But you can see this dude coming along. He's looking pretty good. He's basically done. I just need to get the flames, the orange, right? Use this stuff for that. A little Basilicanum Gray as the base, and Homeboy's done. Just it's basically just little highlights and stuff. Look at this. Blazing Orange ink is the greatest for doing this type of work. See that? Look at that. See, that's why, Jason, when you found it, I was like, dude, that's liquid gold. Blazing Orange ink is amazing. It just makes this job so much easier. Because you can do this other ways. You can use the contrast orange to do this, but look at how much cleaner and smoother that is with an ink. What's that? Was anyone playing Wakanda? No, no one. No, in the tournament, we saw a lot of people playing Web Warriors. That includes Web Warriors and Spider Foes. We saw a lot of people playing Defenders. There was at least one X-Force player. Yeah, who else? What else did we see there? There was a lot of just competitive non-theme. But I think they were using Cabal or Defenders, I think. Right? Because there was some MODOK in the tournament. But there was, at the top tables were a lot of Doctor Strange and Web Warriors. Because I was at the top table. I was at one of the top tables. Yeah. But yeah. Look at this. Homeboy. Let's get... Man, Iron Fist is your homeboy. What else do you... Look at this dude. He is dope. One of my favorite characters, for sure. Maybe Iron Fist makes my good boys, my Spider good boys, just because he's Iron Fist. And I do need, some additional burst damage. What I really need in Spider Boys, though, is, if anything, is I need a ranged damage dealer. We getting some games for the holiday? I'm not. Yeah, for sure. Yes, I'm not sure. Whoa, buddy. Whoa. That was wrong. I'm not sure what my wife may want to do, but I'm sure at least I'll have a 1 day open for gaming. If you guys get time off on Fridays, that is ideal for me. Actually, it turned out kind of nice. Maybe I just let that do its thing. That actually was kind of nice. Let's see. I grabbed the wrong paint. Finally, a 40% air bolt action. Nice. Yeah, Jose's gonna be. He's gonna be contributing to some of my 1-minute battle reports. I don't know why I think that's so cool. I do think it's cool. 1-minute battle report? That's awesome. I'm sure a lot of bros are gonna be mad though. Like, you didn't even do a list analysis. I didn't see dice rolls. There's gonna be people. There's gonna be people that don't like it. I don't. Guess what? I don't give a shit. It's gonna be dope in my mind, and that's all that matters. All right, Homeboy is just about done. I didn't do any work on Quicksilver because I'm too enjoying this dude way too much. I didn't even do really any Luke Cage either. But look at this. Kunlun, baby. Oh, there are too many defenders not to like, though. I know I do really like Doctor Strange. At lunchtime, you know, one guy was complaining about he didn't like Doctor Strange the character. And I looked at him and I'm like, yeah, but if someone forced you to cosplay a Marvel superhero, that's probably what you're gonna pick, because he's the most comfortable dude out there. Don't tell me you're putting that spandex on. And Wong too. Wong's just wearing Asian pajamas, man. I would be Wong. All right, let's do the victory lap on this dude. Where's my black? There you go. So Nelson gets the standard concrete color on his. I have like mine is like a stained concrete. His is like more of what you would expect out of a concrete base. So I can tell the difference between my stuff and Nelson's stuff is how the concrete is stained. And I have a yellow Daredevil and a Wu-Tang Spider-Man. Yeah, defenders are strong, dude. They're just strong. They're super deep. They seem to have access to everything. They may not be as like super top heavy as Avengers can be, but who cares? Like they can match those big time threats that Avengers can put out there. Yeah, no, Sean, you're keeping yourself in better shape than any of the dudes at that tournament, so so I think you're good to cosplay a lot, but I'm gonna just be, for me, I would rather put on a big flowing robe and be Doctor Strange. Right? I got the facial hair and kind of the right haircut. So maybe I should add Iron Man. Iron Man might be fun. Or even War Machine might be fun because although where is he? He's black gloss right now because I gotta undercoat him with metallics. But 30 pieces. 30 guys. 30 pieces. for War Machine. Okay? Cut that shit out, AMG. Like, that's Malifo's gig. Don't do that. Why did you have to be such a dick? Right? I remember I was mad about Okoye, or not Okoye, Shuri. Shuri had, her arms were like 6 pieces an arm. This is the same thing. There's 2 pieces here, a piece there, a piece there, and a piece there, and then 1 here. What? What? And the legs. The foot is a piece, this is a piece, the kneecap, this is a piece, the thigh's a piece. What? Look at it. You mean to tell me you couldn't have just got... Look at these arms. I get that there's a lot of layers of detail in there, but did it have to be 6 pieces an arm? Oh, you thought I was talking about the War Machine game. No. War, just him. Just this dude. 30! Where's the sprue? Oh, I threw the sprue away already. The typical MCP sprue, or character, right? Iron Fist here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Like, we'll call him 10. We'll call him 12 pieces. Right? Quicksilver, probably 12 pieces. Scarlet Witch, still 12 pieces with all that going on. Still 12 pieces. Oh, you know what? I want a base coat. Nah, it's late. I kind of want to do a separate video on her. Right? This homeboy here, still like 12 pieces. This dude? Oh, the explosion, 4 pieces by itself. 4 pieces for an explosion on the ground. What the shit, AMG? What was that all about? Right? This is the last line of miniatures I should be complaining about building, but come on. 30? 30 pieces. Anyways. On that note, I got to get up in about 5 hours, guys. Get back to jogging. So, anyways, that's going to do it for our stream. Want to thank everyone for watching. Thanks, guys, for your comments, too. This is a fun topic to talk about, like meta and, psychology behind some of the gaming stuff. It's just interesting stuff to talk about, and all player motivations. And we talked about even TO motivations and how that's just kind of in my DNA now. It's just kind of how I operate. I liked and what I really love doing. So, anyways, super fun. Thanks, everyone, for joining. Have a good night, guys. And, yeah, we'll catch you on the next one.